Well, good morning, everybody. This is Kendyl Young with Revolve, Director of Excitement, as well as the broker owner of Diggs. We're a residential real estate boutique company in Glendale, California. We cover Glendale, La Cañada, La Crescenta, and Northeast Los Angeles, in case any of you out there want to refer us stuff. I don't just do Revolve stuff. Most of my time, I'm selling homes and fielding the phone calls of clients, both happy and sometimes not so happy, just like you. And the workflows that I build, the Dig Suite and anything else that I do, they are written by me, for me, to handle my problems, my fears, my insecurities, and my failings. And I'm guessing some of you share the same challenges that I do on a day-to-day basis. So today, we're going to be talking about the buyer after close workflow that is designed to handle my particular failing. And I've done this presentation in a few live situations, so I know I am not alone. I I can't stress this enough. I super duper suck with keeping in touch with clients after the close of escrow. I'm terrible at the phone. I'm afraid of it. I'm terrible at small talk. You want to talk about how to, bring peace to the world or solve cancer, and I'm all over it. You want to talk about how are the kids doing at school, and yeah, I'd pretty much rather poke my eyes out with a red hot poker than make that phone call. Because for me, making that phone call is really, honestly, it's less about caring for the client and it's more about, will you give me referrals? And, just I wanted to, and so I don't. And so I've gone, 28 years with essentially closing escrow and ignoring people that I truly like and want to be in issues. So if you guys have those issues, this is the workflow for you. So, and I titled the subtitle, How to Get Referrals Without Asking, because at the end of the day, for the most part, we want to keep in touch with our clients because we like them, we want people like them, to do business with, and we'd love to get referrals from these particular people as opposed to the random Zillow lead who doesn't give a flipping flip about who you are or what you do. But when you get a referral from a client who's done business with you, you know you're getting a referral because you've brought some value into that person's life. And that's what we really want. So that's what this workflow is all about. So if you're like me, here's a phone, my phone icon, right? And some of you are awesome on the phone, and if you are, God bless your little hearts. You can hang up now. You don't need this workflow. You don't need this webinar. So if you are good at the phone, just, go forth and have an awesome day, man. But if you're like me, the phone is just something to revoke. And I'm absolutely certain that I'm interrupting something incredibly important in their lives when I call on the phone. I can't see their face. I can't see their body language, so I don't know if I'm bugging them. And so, oh, yeah, that phone thing, ooh, not going to happen. But we all know that when our buyers, and this is a workflow just for buyers, I haven't solved for X on keeping in touch with sellers after they've sold their home and moved away. Unless they bought a house in my neighborhood, in which case they're a buyer. So yay. When a buyer moves into a new home, there's a disorientation that happens. It's predictable, right? They don't know where to go, what to do, who to talk to. They want to know, where do I get my laundry done, my dry cleaning? Where do I get gifts for Teacher's Day? Where do I get organic produce? Where do I get shit, right? And then they don't know who to talk to for service people. Who do I see for OBGYN? Sorry, guys, for those of you who don't know, that's like a really personal thing, and we need to know who's the best OBGYN in the area. Who do I see for dentistry? Who do I see for, catering for my event? Who do I don't know, right? And then when does shit happen, right? When does you know, community events happen? When or where is the best place to see fireworks? When does, you know, school events happen? You know, if you live in an area where football is a big deal, I hear Texas football is a really big deal. I've never been to Texas, but I hear it's a really big deal. So when does football happen? Where do I get the school, you know, schedule for a football game? So that's, people need to know that. And part of how this workflow happened is because I went to a conference in Hawaii called Workshop, and this Kumu, that's what they call teachers or wise people, this Kumu had said that we as real estate agents, we have a really high responsibility for hospitality. And the Hawaiian version of hospitality is that as the community person, our job is to welcome new people to our community and to be their support network, to be their guide, to be their family, and to help them with just these questions. When does stuff happen? Who do I see for things? And where do I get shit? Right? Our job is to be that support person while that new community member is integrating themselves into our lives. And so this workflow was based on that idea that, you know, okay, I'm not going to call them and say, you know, hey, by the way, I thought I'd let you know that Town Barbecue is a great place to have dinner. Instead of calling them with that, I developed these letters as a way to give the new buyers this kind of information, it's hyper-local, help you integrate into the community information at the time they needed it. And the idea is that you should be the source of stuff you can't Google, right? I mean, if they can Google, if they can use Yelp to get a breakfast thing, you know, is that really helpful? But Google doesn't know what my favorite restaurants are, and they don't know why they're my favorite restaurants. They don't know that Jeremy's is this divey diner in La Crescenta that has the best gut buster breakfast you're going to have. Don't go there if you're counting calories or fat. Go there because you want a filling, awesome breakfast with all the locals there, you know, on Saturday morning, right? You know, Google doesn't know that, but I do. So be that source of stuff you can't Google in the neighborhood. So let me show you, this is the offer. Let me show you what that workflow looks like, okay? So let me just kind of stick this to the side. So this is the Digs after close workflow, and there are 25 actions on it, and it's basically 6 years worth of emails and reminders to call. So yes, you still have to call. I mean, even I know that. I just don't want to have to call on a quarterly basis with nothing particular to talk about, and I want to know that I'm staying relevant and in their lives as I'm calling. So, like, the first action is to friend them on Facebook. If you're not on Facebook, then obviously don't do this one. Maybe you should friend them on Instagram or friend them on Twitter, or whatever. And if you live in an area that's an internet wasteland, nobody uses it, then forget this one. But I use Facebook a lot, and so the first thing I'm going to do is friend them if I haven't already, so that they can be added to my list of past clients on Facebook. And I check that list on a regular basis to see if there's anything there that I can congratulate them. I got a couple of moms, super moms, and they're always posting on Facebook when their little Johnny, made a goal in soccer or got Citizen of the Month. Boy, what a great way to reach out, on Facebook. I do it actually with BombBomb videos direct to their text or a private message, so that it feels more special. And it's like, hey, congratulations to little Johnny on such and such. I think you're so off. And then of course the parent's going to show them the text or the video or whatever, and then Johnny feels amazing that this adult is congratulating them, via video or via private message. Boy, what a great way to stay in touch. And that's just low-hanging fruit, dudes. You got to do that. I make sure that Realvolve is updated with all the current information. It's also in the escrow workflows that I have. Then I make sure my staff updates Revolve with the current buyer information. We take out the place that they were at, the crappy rental they were at, and we make sure that their new address is there, and sometimes that means their email address is going to change. Because of the move. And then we start with the phone calls 1 week after the close of escrow. Are you settled in? There's a reason for that phone call. Are you settled in? Are you feeling good? Is there any questions? Is there anything I can handle? So that's an easy phone call to make. And then we start with our emails right away from the closing date. So I just wanted to show you some of the emails that we're doing. Give me a second. I pulled up that list. Here we go. So right away, after the close of escrow, where is it? Ha! Okay, you guys are going to laugh at me. Email, we open it up, send the close email, and that is which email? I'm not allowed to perform that function? Really? Am I not logged in? Hang on a second, guys. This is what's fun about live. Okay, everybody avert your eyes while I log in. Okay, we're back. Sorry about that. All right, so the after close email. Let's see what I've got here. Send the close email. Okay. All right, that one, sorry guys, that one I think was added for a client. We start ours with the 2 weeks after close. And this is what it looks like. Dear transaction, buyer greetings. So this is applied to the transaction, and I do that specifically because I want to be able to use the merge fields for property address and close of escrow date. If you applied this to a contact, you would not have access to that information for your template letters. So this is applied right after the close of escrow. It's still applied to the transaction, and we go from there. Okay. So buyer transaction greeting. Made sure we had to make sure that you had some protection on the house. Now, we do a home warranty at the close of it on every transaction, whether the seller is going to pay for it or not. In our area, it is common for the seller to pay for the home warranty policy. So 99% of the time, that's who's going to be paying for it. And in our company, if for some reason we can't get the seller to pay for it, like it's a foreclosure or a short sale, then we will pick up the cost of the home warranty for them. So we know they're always going to have that one. And we know that the buyer is, like scrambling around. We give them actually instructions right at the close of escrow what to do if they have a toilet backup right when they move in. But we're just going to remind them, here's the home warranty company, here's the phone number you call. If there's anything that is not covered, we give them a list of our trusted vendors, and we wish them well, and we remember, please fill out the review, the survey that we sent them. Okay, so that's like right at, just right after the close of escrow, so they know what to do, and they go with it. Financial planner, that's a letter that happens 1 month after the close of escrow, right? So they've moved in, they've kind of unpacked all of their bags, and we're saying, you know what, you've changed your financial situation significantly, because a lot of our buyers are first-time buyers, or they're going from a condo to their first house. Their condo, they bought it for $200,000, 5 years ago. Now they bought a house, like say, $750,000. That's a reasonable first-time single-family dwelling home purchase for us. So it's a huge jump in financial obligation, in tax consequences, and all kinds of things. And so we're giving them a referral to our personal financial advisor. That's how we want to make it personal. Right, so our personal financial advisor, and then advise them, this is just there's lots and lots out there, ask for recommendations, but you really need to do that so that you can start protecting your financial asset. Now, here's a word to the wise. When you buy the workflows, they're going to look just like this. I cleaned them up, and I made them somewhat generic. so that you can all use them. You need to insert your own financial advisor, obviously. You're not going to use mine. But the letters that I use within Digs are extremely personal. I actually tell personal stories. In this particular one, I talk about how when I was young looking for a financial planner, it was really tough to find one who was smart, who I felt I could trust, and who could explain complicated financial matters to me in a way that I could understand. So you're going to need to edit pretty much every one of these letters, because the idea is that you're giving hyper-local information, you're giving personal information, right? So these are personal recommendations, your personal advisors, the people that you personally recommend and love. So this is not a set it and forget it email thing. You're not going to buy this from me and then be able to apply it and just walk away. You need to go through each one of these letters. There's not a lot of them. There's like 12 letters, okay? So don't freak out. But I encourage you to put a personal touch to each one of these letters. Talk about, why you like this financial advisor. Talk about the mistakes that you made with financial advisors. But the more personal you make it, the more that this feels like something that you care for them, which you honestly do. If you didn't care for them, if you don't, then you wouldn't apply this after close. You'd be like, God bless, I hope I never talk to this person again, right? So you care about these people. You want these letters to sound like you care about them. So the combination of your personal stories and your personal recommendations is what makes this workflow so freaking powerful. The amount of referrals that we've gotten since we started using this is just, it's exponential, right? I mean, it's just amazing. Of course, I'm going from ignore them altogether to sending them personal emails, so of course I'm going to get a lot more referrals. But let's see. Here's another one that I think is really hyper-local, is Facebook groups. Again, I'm a heavy Facebook user, and my area is a heavy Facebook user, and so we tell them about a number of hyper-local and very active Facebook groups that we use in our area. Community groups is just Spar Heights Neighbors. Buy Local is one that I actually started in my area, because a lot of the community groups, they don't want the merchants and the vendors and the service people to advertise in their community groups. They want to talk about lost dogs and kittens and who wants my, exercise equipment because I'm not using it anymore. That's what they want to talk about in community groups. Buy Local, I started this group, and if you don't have one in your area, by all means start one. I started this so that service providers, vendors, and merchants have a safe place where they can talk about their sales, the latest shipment of, really cute goods that they've got, their holiday promotions, and do that in a place where the community is engaged and is looking, but is welcome, right? So I do all of those things, and then I also talk about some pages that a new buyer might want to take a look at, pages that are hyperlocal again. So community groups, like if you have some nonprofit groups, the Historical Society is a big one in my area. If you have maybe some school pages that are really active, places, and look, don't send them to pages that, nobody has updated a darn thing in the last 3 years. But if there are some pages where they post events, community happenings, fundraisers, then turn them on to those pages so that they can start using Facebook as a resource for feeling more comfortable in their area. But can you see how this is all super, super hyper local? Can you see how somebody receiving these letters is going to feel like you're really trying to help them feel comfortable and to feel like this new community is their home? And boy, aren't they feeling good about you because you're helping them feel like this is your home? Here's my favorite eatery. That's another one. So this list is actually hosted in my website. So some of you know how to do that. I recommend that you do it because the SEO is ridiculous. Because on that restaurant guide, let me see if I can show it to you. Can I show it to you? Open link. Yeah, okay. Here we go. So the SEO is really, really cool because we have links to the websites within our guide. And so, like Google thinks we're amazing. So that's like a reason alone that you should do that. But we put in there not necessarily what the like Shakers has on their website. You know, we tell little stories about, you know, like we took it off because my kids were, you know, embarrassed. But I used to put in there that we go there for Thursday, you know, mommy night, and you know what my kids love to eat and how they loved having the toys, because they have a little toy chest at the front. And so little tidbits like that in a guide is really showcasing your expertise and making, again, people feel like this was a message that you're sharing a piece of yourself. You know, I'm a company now, so we also have recommendations from the agents within my company of what they like and where they like to eat. So restaurant guide. You're kind of getting the sense here, right? Go, see, do. Again, this is all the places to, well, you know, go see and do, right? Museums, landmarks, theaters, places we like to hike in Glendale and beyond. Again, this is hosted on my website, so they can go in there and we direct them there, and hopefully they'll look around and see some of the other things that we're doing. So community events, you know, I have actually a personal story of the Montrose Christmas Parade, which is like the most awesome thing ever. It's like, talk about a small town event in great big urban Los Angeles. It's just like freaking awesome. So we tell people about that. Again, estate planner, we all know that we should have a living trust on our property. And your clients, they know it at some level. They're going to resist it. Nobody wants to talk about their estate because that means they're going to talk about someday when they die. Nobody wants to talk about that. So why don't you encourage them and make it easy by giving them a person to go to? And again, you're going to say, this is personal recommendation. So I say, this is my estate planner. You know, there's lots of them out there. I'm not saying you should go to her. I'm just telling you, this is the person that I trusted. Love this one. Again, on my particular site, I relate the story of how, you know, the time my mother hired an interior decorator that we all hated. And he would foof about the house and he would say, you know, I know that you don't like the color on this chair, just live with it. And, you know, that was why it was 6 months after, because he'd say, you got to live with it for 6 months, and if you still hate it, then we'll change it. And so we send the decoration email at 6 months, and it's like, okay, you've lived with these colors for 6 months, and now you've decided you can't live with it any longer, you've got to fix it. So here's our list of favorite vendors, painters, contractors, fix-it people, you know, whatever it is that you need. Retail is almost as fun, all the places we like to shop, and we've actually expanded that to personal services, like the best places to get your nails, your hair done, your eyebrows tweezed. Guys are rolling their eyes. Trust me, you're going to need this list as well, if only to get the best birthday gift ever for your wife. And then we go into the first anniversary. We want to, you know, do that. We actually have a Starbucks card. We bought branded Starbucks cards that you can either have as an e-card or as a physical card, and it has our logo on it. The place that you get to that is, I think it's b2bstarbucks.com. And you can order those, and you know, they're just slightly more expensive than I think the setup fee is $150, and then you can buy these cards. And I have no idea if these are making a big hit because they're branded. You could probably do just as well with a regular Starbucks card. But, you know, be that as it may, I thought it was cool. And I went to, you know, heard one of those gurus. I said, you know, great. So, you know, and we actually happen to be less than a block from a Starbucks. I'll bet you your office is less than a block from a Starbucks as well. So we're saying, hey, stop by, say hi, you know, drop in on us. On the 12th day, 12 days of Christmas, on the 12th month, we're telling them, you know what, you bought your homeowner's insurance a year ago. You might have been under the time gun to get it done so that you could fund the loan and close escrow on time, right? So now might be a really good time to review your insurance. And again, at Diggs, the letter that goes out is we talk about our personal insurance guides. Like, when we use this guy, this is why we like him. He's the son of this guy, and they've been in town for, you know, 2 generations, that kind of stuff. So, you know, we give out, here it is, Paul Diaz. I kept that in there so that you would know what to write in there. But we go a little bit deeper and we talk about who Paul is and why we like doing business with him and how he's taking care of us, right? Then we move into doing things more or less every year. And along the way, there's reminders to call. Like, for example, after the first anniversary, we have a reminder to call and say, hey, happy anniversary. God, I hate making those phone calls. I really do. But people love receiving that phone call. So I have to remember that when I pick up the phone, that people love hearing from you in that first year. They're so excited to tell you what changes they've made in the house. They want to invite you to dinner, which is my personal fear. That they're going to invite me to dinner and I've got to figure out how to put that into my, it's just, oh, really, I tell you this so that you can understand how flawed I am. And if this resonates with anybody, that you too dread being asked out to dinner with your clients, even though you like them, dude, you're not alone. But at some point you got to suck it up because we're in sales and being nice to people and socializing is part of it, even though I'd really rather just sit in my room in the dark and create workflows. So just know that we're all flawed in many ways. If you're with me, then, cool. If Marguerite Gruguer happens to be on this webinar, and I don't think she is, but if she is, man, that girl loves to go out and socialize with her clients, and God love her. And if Rosemary Berger is on this webinar, and I don't know if you are, but if Rosemary's on it, she's like the queen of sending birthday cards and being in touch with people, and she's like nice. She's like super nice. So if you're one of those people, you don't need this workflow. But if you're like me, yeah. So then we start going into anniversary. We start going into updating the CMAs. That's something that needs to be done. This one gets done, I think, every year, where it tells you need to update the CMA. And I think that's a really great habit to get into. And I never did it until I started this workflow, and I got this reminder that I needed to do it. And so, now they sort of get done, maybe not at the anniversary, but they do get done. And then I wanted you to know that each year, it's not just a simple, hey, happy anniversary. If you have any referrals, think of me. It's, hey, here's your anniversary, and like in this one, here's your Starbucks card, right? And saying, look, more people than would be expected might move within 3 years. And, if you're one of them, I just have to ask, are you one of them? If you are, we should talk, right? But if you're staying put, maybe you want to remodel or whatever, so here's our list, right? So there's a lot of thought that went into where their headspace might be in 3 years or in 4 years, right? Or in 5 years. It's like in 5 years, you're thinking, in 4 years, you're thinking, well, maybe what changes can I do and what's going to be profitable, right? So you should talk to me about what you want to do, and I'll let you know what's profitable, what's not profitable. In 5 years, if they're still there in 5 years, they're probably thinking, I'm going to be here for the long haul. So why don't you ask them if they want to invest in property? They've amassed probably some equity. At least in California, it's easy to amass a lot when the market's good. It's easy to amass a lot of equity, several $100,000 worth of equity when they've held the house. So maybe they're thinking, could I put this equity to use and invest in a property and start creating passive income? You kind of see why real estate is a blood sport in California. It really is. And then again, asking them, well, is it a time for a change? Because things happen, and maybe it is. So anyway, these are the letters that are in the buyer after close workflow. I've now gone through the whole thing, and maybe you're feeling like, well, shoot, I don't need to buy the workflow, and I can do it on my own. And if you feel that way, like, God love you, I still maintain that doing your own workflows are super valuable because it causes you to question every bit of your business, of what you do, and it also gives you a chance to automate some of the things that you wished you had time to do, but you never did. And now that you're sitting down and you're gathering your thoughts, you're thinking, if I did this, it would create a lot of business. Well, for goodness sakes, create your own workflow and put all those ideas in, and share them with me. If I've given you some value and you want to share them with me, man, I'm always open, because I know I have a huge amount of improvement that I could and should do. But if you are thinking, it's like, yeah, Kendyl, I could do it myself, but I'd rather buy yours, because even though I need to tweak each letter, I would rather tweak a letter than create one from scratch. Right? I'd rather just, do that. I'd want the inspiration, and then I can like tack on from there. Then that's why we're doing this webinar, to inspire you to do things that you might not have the time to do. And you can buy the buyer after close workflow for $149. Normally, this workflow is only available if you buy the entire Dig suite for $5.99. And the Dig suite has all of the workflows I used to run my business at the time that I joined Revolve. And so there's 14 workflows there. And that takes you from the point of contact all the way to contract, and with this buyer after close, beyond, right, to create referrals. So that's available for $149, and it's a short time limited offer. It's just for the 2 weeks between now and our next webinar talking about other Digs workflows. And to order it, go to go.realvolve.com / or is that forward slash? I never know which one it is. / VA. Okay, / VA. And that will take you to my page that has all of the offerings for workflows and for my virtual assistants to help you get up and running and using Revolve in a real profitable, time-saving manner. So choose whatever it is that you like. The buyer after close workflow is the very first box that you're going to see on the top left-hand side. That's the promotional workflow for now. So click on that, choose buyer after close workflow, and I'll get your order and process it and get it to you as soon as possible. So that was pretty much what I had to say. I don't see any questions, Mark. Did I do such a great job that nobody has them?
There's lots of questions here. I've answered some of them, but do you have an after close for sellers?
I wish I did. So here's what the challenge is with sellers. They move away, and so I'm not going to provide them the essential value of their workflow, which is to integrate a new member into the community until they feel like it's home. So the seller goes away, and what am I trying to do with that seller that's gone away? I guess what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to encourage them to refer me to people that they're still in touch with, right? So right now, the only path I see forward with that is to call or email the sellers and say, can you send me a referral? Can you talk to me about you talk about what a great job I did to the friends that you're still in touch with back in the community? And short of saying I heart referrals, I don't know what to send. So I haven't come up with anything. When I solve for X, I will let you guys know.
Very good. Here's another question. How do you get the code for Starbucks gift card into the email?
Yeah. Okay. So let me go back to the email. So what we have to do is the Starbucks card, the e-card, it's a URL. And so we put this graphic in. It's just a picture of the branded card that we got from Starbucks. And this picture is linked to the Starbucks card URL. So if they click on the picture, they're going to go to their Starbucks card they can download. But we also put this verbiage down at the bottom, and this red text is so that my marketing coordinator knows they need to insert the URL for the Starbucks card.
But couldn't you probably use one of the merge fields for that contact and insert that in there? Question. I don't know.
Yeah, what I would need to do is hijack one of the existing merge fields. That's because obviously we don't have a Starbucks card merge field, and I don't think we should probably put one in. So I would have to hijack a merge field from somewhere else, and it was just basically easier to do it this way.
Okay.
Plus, I need a different Starbucks URL for each one of these years' um, emails, right? So if I used a merge field, you can't use the same Starbucks URL for each year's email, right? So no, I don't think a merge field would work. I think you need to auto insert each time.
Okay, there
I
is a
see a question
yeah. There's a question here
from
from Jim.
Melinda, from Jim. Okay, go
Yeah,
ahead.
from Jim about sending U.S. mail. All of these are emailed, but wanting to know, do we U.S. mail anything? Right now, we don't. We are getting ready to add integration with LOB.com, which would allow us to send printed material through them. Basically, you take the content in the email template, letter template, whatever we create here, and be able to send it to them. They'll do the mailing and all that for you. There's a cost at that. We will also be adding actual print options, but that's not available yet, but that's on its way.
Cool. I see a question here from Melinda Gunther about the financial planner email. She says many of her clients are high net worth individuals and they have that covered. I've been racking my brain to find something interesting in my community that I can replace with this one. Um, most, well, I mean, here's the thing that I suppose that's true. I still think that there is some people who are not high net worth that might not. And my personal experience, and maybe this is just an LA thing, but I find all kinds of rich people who don't have this handled. So I wonder if there isn't some value in sending it, but maybe tweaking the language and still sending it out. It's like, when if you already have this handle, congratulations, you are a cut above in handling your financial matters, and I just want to give you a high five for having it done. I think that there's some good feels that can happen with that, even though they've already got a financial person. Who doesn't like being told that they've got their S together, really?
There's a question here about have you checked out using a local coffee shop, or is there a specific reason why you use Starbucks?
No specific reason. I went to a conference. Somebody promoted this idea from stage, and I went, "Ooh, that's awesome!" and went from there.
Does the Diggs suite include the Diggs Internet Conversion Suite?
Yes, the conversion suite. Wait a minute, hang on a second. No, it does not. The Dig Suite includes the autoresponder that we talked about last week, but the internet lead conversion is a standalone workflow suite. I wrote that later in my Realvolve career, and it's pretty damn sweet, but it's not included in the Dig Suite.
LOB.com. I'll send that. Jim, I just replied to that on the website, LOB. Um, is there a special for the entire Dig suite of workflows?
No, there is not. We did have a special just before I raised the price, and my opinion, and I have to talk to the team, but my opinion, $5.99 is still an incredible bargain for the Dig Suite. So it's likely that I'll run a special before I raise the price again, but I'm not planning on doing that anytime soon.
Yeah, I know at one point you were selling
Um,
for $1,100, and it was selling
yes,
that. So
and I sold a whole bunch of them at $1,100. So these, I get it. It's a lot of money. I completely get it, but if you're going to run your business at scale, I am the thoroughness of what I have created is something that only an OCD freak like myself would do. And I'm not a professional writer. I'm not some person who was hired to take a look at real estate and then write these workflows. I wrote these because I don't want that 10 o'clock phone call from a freaked out client who doesn't understand what's going to be happening next. I can't stand that phone call. And not just because I don't work at 10 o'clock at night, is because the idea that my clients are feeling insecurities at all is not acceptable to me. So anyway, I'm off track. Wendy Brown had asked, am I not requesting that you pick up? No, I'm not. I'm not. No, Wendy, you're supposed to pick up the phone. Um, do it as often as you can, as often as you're willing to. I'm just saying that I personally suck at picking up the phone. And I wrote this workflow to help me be better at being in contact and giving me purpose for picking up the phone, as opposed to the generic, hi, how you doing phone call, right? To me, it's still hard for me to pick up the phone even when I have a purpose to follow up on a particular email. I think I have it timed to go after the financial planner to pick up the phone and check in with them. And I think I have another one right after the retail therapy one, just because that was a fun email. But to have a purpose of the phone call is still hard for me, but at least I have a greater chance of doing it. If you're good at picking up the phone, dude, pick up the phone, man. That's better than anything.
Question from Wendy. For those who have purchased the suite, will it be upgraded or do we need to purchase the suite again?
No, 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 no. If you've already purchased a suite, unless you purchased it right when I joined the company, which was like a year and a half ago, I don't remember now, it's more or less the same. And all of the workflows are included. I haven't changed the number of workflows or the functionality of the workflows from day one. The only things that have changed is, for a while, you were getting my live workflows, what I was working with at that particular time. And so as I learned about functions in Valve, I tweaked activities for greater functionality. But the ideas are all there. They really haven't changed. So there are no upgrade paths really available. Plus, if you were to upgrade it with let's just say you were one of the first ones to buy it, if you were to upgrade it, it would completely mess with whatever you've done to make these workflows your own. That would be like no bueno in the highest.
How do you best recommend an agent that is new to the organization to set up her business, but not new to real estate? Get up and going and all the expenses of starting everything at once. How do you best recommend
Right.
you can do it?
So, real estate is like a really weird industry. We can get into this business with no capital funding whatsoever. And many of you do. The only capital funding, and hopefully you have done this, the only capital funding you have is hopefully enough money to cover your expenses until you are up and running and selling houses and closing escrows. So, most businesses would never start from scratch with nothing to fund and nothing to invest, for marketing and tools and technology. That being said, the reality is that many of us do start with nothing in the bank. And you have to make some really careful decisions on how to invest your money. And, and I'm like in a minority, so just be aware of this. I think that the way you should start your business is by getting in front of people face to face, belly to belly, and not spending money on Zillow leads or fancy websites or splashy email, platforms. With that being said, should you purchase the digs workflows, it kind of depends on how much support you have in your office. If you're part of a team, you should only be part of that team because they can handle this stuff for you, or at least be by your side with every step of the way of the transaction. If you're working for a brokerage, you signed up with a brokerage, and it's one of those 100%er brokerages where you're pretty much an individual island and you've got no support and nobody to answer, all of your questions as you go through the thing. First of all, you shouldn't be at that brokerage. That's my opinion. You want to shoot me for it, sorry. But if that's the situation you're in and you want to stay at that brokerage, then yeah, I think it's worth the money to buy the Dig Suite, because who else is going to help you with all the things that you need to do, and do them well and make sure that your client is truly taken care of. You're getting paid a lot of money. Even if you're only selling a $200,000 house, and I'm sorry if that sounds judgmental, I don't mean it to be. In my area, you can't do 200,000. But even if you're selling a $200,000 house, or whatever the lower end is in your marketplace, that's still a good chunk of change for your commission. Um, your client deserves to be taken care of, and they deserve not be in fear of whether or not things are being handled. And the Dig Suite is a way of doing that if you don't have on the ground support from your broker or your team leader or your company, which is really what you deserve. That's what you deserve. Your client deserves, great information. You deserve support. That's my opinion.
Okay,
Next question.
Kendyl, Kathy asks, when you're looking at a task that calls for an email, how do you read that email? And
Oh, okay.
if
Yeah.
you
So that's
show
a
her,
great.
we're going to be changing this, but for right now, go ahead and show her what you do on that, and
We're going to be changing that? That's
yeah,
awesome.
making it
Okay,
so that
you'll have
it
to tell me
gets
about
easier to
that. Tell me about that later. Okay, so let's see, where are we?
go to an email.
Let's see. Okay, let's go with the 2 weeks after. So here's like the first one, right? 2 weeks after. And here's the action. And right here is the name of the email. So 2 weeks after email. So when you click on that, you're going to get an additional window here. And it's telling you 2 weeks after email, I'm going to send it manually. We're going to send it via email. And here's the name of the letter. So Kathy, this is where you're going to find it. This is the name of the letter. And so then what you do is you go over to your templates. I happen to have a separate window open. And you're going to type in AC00, what's that, 001?
Two.
AC002. You're going to type in AC002. And people do not fuss at me as to how I labeled these emails. I just labeled them so I could find them. That's it. If you can remember the title, then that's all you need to do. So AC002 happens to be the code that I used here. You can use any code you want. You don't need to use mine. Don't get head up on what these codes mean. They don't mean anything. It's just a way of finding the email, okay? So you do the template, and then you can read what it says.
And basically, it's after close, and it's the second letter that you typed in, correct?
Yeah, pretty much. I followed your nomenclature, Mark,
Yeah.
for these things
I
because
like to keep
it
all
didn't.
my templates together. And to keep them together,
Yes.
I just put a code of my own making in front of it.
So
Literally.
this is after close. I decided, okay, after close, AC. So AC, and then it's 001. But you can see when I type in AC, all of the emails for the after close template are all in one place.
Just makes it easy to find and
Um,
group them together.
it just makes it easy. But I've noticed that people get really twisted up about this.
Good.
Just don't. Okay. Any other questions?
That's all that I see, unless I've
Okay.
missed any.
All right, so I'm going to go back to this little splash page here for you guys. Remember that if you want to buy this particular workflow because either you're not willing to invest in the entire suite of $5.99 or you don't need the whole suite, you're pretty chill. You've got it wired. You're good. But this particular one seems like a great value to you. For just these 2 weeks, you can buy this workflow by itself. And not the entire Dig Suite. Go to go.realvolve.com/VA. Click on Get Started in the Buyer After Close little box. Send me that, and we'll be rocking and rolling after that. Thank you so much, everyone that participated. We did record this webinar, and we'll be posting that recording in our Revolve community page shortly. Have a great day. Go forth and be awesome, people.